Hello, welcome to Lori's DIY Life. This is Lori. What I'm going to do tonight, and the reason I'm doing it tonight, is I've uploaded one video, but for some reason it's in YouTube still processing. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I've turned it public. If it ever comes up, you can watch it. It was using the circle die cutting craft kit from Crafter's Companion. But anyways, what I want to do is, I've gotten so much stuff and I need storage, and I need shelves, and I need shelves for small things because I've been getting a lot of pastes and drops and stuff like that. And I've got like these two 5-shelf bookcases, and they're just big shelves, and I need smaller shelves inside those shelves so I can get more than one thing done. So I'm going to reuse a box, just a plain box that some of my stuff came in the mail, and I'm going to make shelves in here. Now this might be a long video, but stick with me. I think it'll be worth it. The first step is going to be, of course, for what shelves. We want this to be the shelf unit. So we've got to cut these off. Normally this is not so big here like this, but I think we'll be able to fix that. So we're going to cut these off. Now we're going to do that all the way around the box, and I am using a box cutter, and I'm not very good at using a box cutter or a craft knife. I don't know what it is about them, but I'm just not good at it. So this is going to be the first step, and man, I'm doing really bad with this one. So I might try taking this ruler, holding it up here, and you can't even see that, holding it right there, and it's a metal edge ruler, and I'm gonna, uh-oh, papers. Well, it was already cut, so, but I'm gonna do that. But it didn't cut very smooth, but we'll see what the paper does, because we're gonna cover it with paper. So I'm gonna do that all the way around the box, and like I said, I'm gonna try putting this ruler like this. Let's see if it will work. That helped. That made it a lot straighter for that original cut. So yeah, but you know what I realized is I have stuff here that I don't want to cut. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And now I have the first cut. The other cuts should be easier to go through. Usually once I have that first cut, I just, like I said, for me I've never been good at this. But once you have that first cut, if it's deep enough, it'll keep you straight. So that worked this time. That worked really good. It's just that, I mean, it's a really cheap, but it's a metal edge ruler. And I'm going to put you on pause, and I'm going to finish these other two, and I will be right back. Okay, I got my sides taken off, and it looks like my blade's getting dull. It didn't cut very good, and it left a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna hope yours came out better, but my blade is just, see, it's not even cutting through, it's dull. But anyways, now the next step, and because our boxes are going to be the same, are not going to be the same, I cannot give you exact measurements on this. So you're going to have to just do what you can and try to follow with the box that you have. And I have found that no matter what size box I have, for me, my next step is to measure this outside from here up. And I have 3.5 inches. So from the bottom, I want to make sure there's plenty of room here, and it goes to 3.5, or just over 3.5. So what I want to do is add like 1 inch or 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is add, I'm going to make it 5 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to measure this way. So 5 by 7, and I'm going to go about 8. So 5 by 8, and I'm going to get my paper cutter. What did I do with my paper cutter? Okay, so I'm going to take my paper cutter and I'm going to measure and cut it at 5 by 8. Okay, so I'm going to go 8 first. Now this paper that I'm using is just some printed cardstock that I got from Joann's. I got a bunch of it on sale, and so it was quite a while back. And 5 by 8, and I need 2 of these. Okay, so see, it's just enough to go around. Looks like I should have made that longer. It looks like that needs to be longer. So I think I'm going to do 5 by 10. That's a good thing I checked before I cut the next one. I don't know how I got that wrong, but I did. So I'm going to do the long one first. 10. 5 by 10. Okay, you want to go around your corners here. You want to go around your corners. So 5 by 10 on both these sides. So I need another 5 by 10. And of course I'm going to measure the 10 first. 10. And then I'm going to do the 5. I don't know why, but I always do the long first. I always want to make sure I got that length. Okay. And then, honestly, these ones, it looks like the same size is going to fit. Because these, wait. No, it's got to be probably the whole length. Yeah, because you got to have a little bit go around. So I've got one more piece, and then I'm going to have to go grab some more, but Yeah, I'm gonna have to go grab some more. So I'm gonna cut 2 of these at 5 inches because you still want a little bit to go around. So they will overlap. That's okay. They're not gonna overlap a lot. You're gonna want it to overlap some so your corners don't show. That's what I'm working on. And so I'll be right back. I've got to go grab some more of this paper and cut it to this size because of course I want 2 of those. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my 4 pieces and I'm going to put my cutter away for now. And I want to remind you, keep your scraps. You might be able to use them on the inside. Keep these that you cut off because these are what we're going to use for our shelves inside the shelf unit. Okay, so I'm going to take the long ones because they're not going to fold over as much, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue them to the side. Now what I'm using is cardstock, so it's a little bit tougher to work with. If you have a paper, then paper's easier to work with and you can do it. If it's a good paper, you don't want a real thin paper because of course like some of these edges are not great or whatever. Depending on how well your box is cut, you might be able to use it, but I normally use cardstock even though it's harder to work with. I normally use it just because it adds a little more strength and you know, bulkiness, I guess is what I'm trying to think of, to the box. So now you can glue it down, whatever glue you have. I'm going to use tacky glue, and I'm going to use plenty of it, and I'm going to make sure that it's good on the edges. Sometimes I use too much glue on this. I don't know why. I always put so much, but I just want to make sure it's good. Okay, so if you know you can score ahead of time, I don't know why, I just normally don't, and then I'm sorry that I didn't, but I usually just kind of fold it over because sometimes with these boxes they're not perfect and the score is not a big enough score. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but anyways, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to hold that down. And the good thing about using tacky glue is that it dries a little quicker, at least where it'll hold it more. And see, I put too much at that end. Oh, does it want to come off? Will it let me move it? It did. Good. Because I just need to go around. I don't like my corners. Boy, I'm not doing real easy trying to do this for the camera. I don't like my corners showing. I guess because it is a box, and you kind of want to hide that it's a box. You know, you don't want people to say, oh, look what you did to that box. You know, not me anyways, I don't. Okay, so then this will go over. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and I'll be back after I've done that. Okay, now I've got both sides done. What I wanted to say too is if you're using a directional pattern on your paper, you need to make sure that your pattern's going the same way. And mine is, it might not look like a directional pattern, but if you look, it really is, because the white triangle goes down, the green triangle goes up. So if I put it that way, see, it's not the same direction. Might not be noticeable, but anyways, they're both going the same way. That's more important inside than the outside, but it depends on where you're putting your shelf. Okay, so now I'm going to take these side pieces, and we're not going to be able to go directional on them, but it's not really going to be that noticeable. I could have maybe had them coming forward, but that doesn't matter. This, I'm just going to take this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap. That's why I made this paper longer, because I'm going to overlap. I'm going to overlap on the side. And you need to have an overlap somewhere. You got to have that overlap so to make sure your corners are nicely covered. I mean, you could stick it there and stick it in, but your corners are not going to be as nicely covered. That's not a big enough curve around there. So I'm just going to take and put my glue on. And I'm going to stick this on. I like to normally use a pattern that isn't directional. I don't normally use a directional pattern because of worrying about getting it right. So because this obviously, this might look a little funny with these ends, but you know, it's going inside a shelving unit, so I don't think anybody's really gonna notice too much. They're gonna see more of the inside and the inside more than anything. Okay. See how round that corner needs to be? That's why I don't normally score. It might work for you, but for me, and it seems like a lot of work for something that's not really gonna make that big of a difference, really. So I want to make sure it's good on the bottom, and I'm gonna glue it here on this side. I'm trying to do this quick so the video's not too long. Okay, now I'm gonna take this one and do the same thing, and I will be right back. Okay, now I got all four sides. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. I didn't realize that was on there. Okay, now I got all four sides glued. It's not dried yet, but you know, for the sake of time in this video, all four sides have this. Now we've got to tuck it under. If it's not even, don't worry. It doesn't matter. These are going inside. As long as you've got it covered on the outside, that's the important part. See, this just didn't go down real good yet. It's still wet, so I'm messing with it a little much for wet. But anyways, so we need to fold this in. Don't forget, these boxes have been through the mail and have been battered and abused, and so most of them are not going to be straight. Every once in a while you'll get a really nice box, and I've gotten some really nice ones. Man, don't throw them away. Keep those because they're rare. And I got this one because it is so small, and I figured it would be easier with the camera and everything for everybody to see. So what I'm going to do now is I want to fold these over, but with these corners, you can't. So you need to make a little nip. Nip in this paper. And then you fold it down. And sometimes you'll get it where it almost just wants to stay by itself. But anyways, and you can then fold it down. And if you want to, you can snip a little bit away. Sometimes that makes it a little bit neater. So just snip a little bit, but don't snip too much, because you want to make sure that it keeps your corner covered. You don't want your corner coming uncovered. So just glue it down. Glue it down. See, that looks a lot neater. It works a lot better, but I want to get this done for you. Okay, so when you've got that stuck and it's staying down, then you come to the opposite side and make your cuts. And don't forget, we are going to still be covering the inside again. So if it's not perfect on the inside, it's not that big a deal. Okay, so just fold it in. Glue it down. And we're getting rid of that ugly cardboard edge. It is disappearing, and it's nice, to see it going. You can use a bone folder on the edges if you want. I usually kind of leave it with the rounded look. I don't know why, but that's just makes it seem like it's something more substantial later on. Okay, now with these ones, you are going to want to trim a little bit off. Hopefully your corners are going to be covered anyways. Just don't trim all the way down, because if you trim all the way down and your corners aren't covered, then see, I leave just a little tiny bit there, so to make sure that corner is covered, because the inside paper is not going to cover that corner. So that's what most of this bending over is about, making sure we want our edges covered and we want our corners covered. And see, that worked nicely. Okay, and glue it down. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to hold it for a while and let it dry, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've got all my sides folded over and glued down. Not necessarily dry yet, still pretty wet for me, but you know, you're going to let yours dry in between, hopefully, because it'll be a lot neater and easier to work. But now I need to decorate the inside. Now remember, directional, if you've used directional paper, you need to make sure you stay directional. These are going to be usable. On this side, I'll have to cut those down a little bit. But for the inside, that's going to be a tough measurement. Okay. That's going to be a little tough, because I've got nothing that's soft to measure with like that. So let me, oh wait, I don't need to measure with this. I can measure, excuse me, maybe I can use this. Maybe it'll get me close enough, I think. From here, okay, it looks like 7.5 by 10. Okay, so we're gonna go, I worked that out. 7.5. Hope it fits. I hope they're right. If it's a little too big, that's okay. We can trim it down, right? 7.5 by 10. Couldn't have gone much bigger. I'd have had to do two papers. But you know what? Do 2 papers if that's what you need, because you can always stick a shelf where you have your cards meet, or where you have your paper meet, so nobody will even know. Okay, so that is a little bit big, and I'm just gonna keep trimming it little bit by little bit, because I don't want to end up with too small a piece. I want it to fit nice. I'll do 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch. And like I said, I'm going to show you my mistakes. If I make them, you're going to see them. Okay, so we're going to go another 1/4 inch. So 7. Whew. Can't believe I was that much off. 7 by 9.5. I hope this is not going to be too small here. Okay. It fits. 1/4 inch at a time. If it looked a little bit smaller on the bottom, but that's okay, because I'm going to be covering the bottom, so that might help there. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue down. Now if you want, you can fill this in. See, you might not have one like this. Usually mine don't have one that seems so big and stick out so bad. You can fill it in, but I'm not going to, because I know with the shelf and stuff, it's not really going to make a difference in there. So, no, the paper will be loose there. That'll be the only thing that I'm going to be a little bit concerned about, but I think because it's cardstock, it's not going to matter. And I'm going to make sure I'm going directional. So I want my triangles going up, and I want to stick it down. Okay, now I'm going to measure from inside. So it looks like 3 1.25 by 9.75. 3.25 by 9.75. 9.75 by, is this 3.25? Will it go 3.25? It's like 3.5. So let me see if that fits. It fits perfect. So I'm just going to do another one for the other side, and I'm going to glue them both down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got all my sides folded over and glued down. Not necessarily dry yet, still pretty wet for me, but you know, you're going to let yours dry in between, hopefully, because it'll be a lot neater and easier to work. But now I need to decorate the inside. Now remember, directional, if you've used directional paper, you need to make sure you stay directional. These are going to be usable. On this side, I'll have to cut those down a little bit. But for the inside, that's going to be a tough measurement. Okay. That's going to be a little tough, because I've got nothing that's soft to measure with like that. So let me, oh wait, I don't need to measure with this. I can measure, excuse me, maybe I can use this. Maybe it'll get me close enough, I think. From here, okay, it looks like 7.5 by 10. Okay, so we're gonna go, I worked that out. 7.5. Hope it fits. I hope they're right. If it's a little too big, that's okay. We can trim it down, right? 7.5 by 10. Couldn't have gone much bigger. I'd have had to do two papers. But you know what? Do 2 papers if that's what you need, because you can always stick a shelf where you have your cards meet, or where you have your paper meet, so nobody will even know. Okay, so that is a little bit big, and I'm just gonna keep trimming it little bit by little bit, because I don't want to end up with too small a piece. I want it to fit nice. I'll do 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch. And like I said, I'm going to show you my mistakes. If I make them, you're going to see them. Okay, so we're going to go another 1/4 inch. So 7. Can't believe I was that much off. 7 by 9.5. I hope this is not going to be too small here. Okay. It fits. 1/4 inch at a time if it looked a little bit smaller on the bottom, but that's okay because I'm going to be covering the bottom, so that might help there. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue down. Now if you want, you can fill this in. See, you might not have one like this. Usually mine don't have one that seems so big and stick out so bad. You can fill it in, but I'm not going to, because I know with the shelf and stuff, it's not really going to make a difference in there. So, no, the paper will be loose there. That'll be the only thing that I'm going to be a little bit concerned about, but I think because it's cardstock, it's not going to matter. And I'm going to make sure I'm going directional. So I want my triangles going up, and I want to stick it down. Okay, now I'm going to measure from inside. So it looks like 3 1/4 by 9 3/4. 3 1/4 by 9 3/4. 9 3/4 by, is this 3 1/4? Will it go 3 1/4? It's like 3 1/2. So let me see if that fits. It fits perfect. So I'm just going to do another one for the other side, and I'm going to glue them both down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got these down, and I made a mistake, and I want you to see my mistake. On this side, I should have cut it a smidge smaller, because it's going exactly to the edge, and so the edge of this paper is showing a little more than I want it to. So then when I seen that, I went ahead and I cut this just a teeny little tiny bit and stuck it down, and it looks much better from the outside. I don't know if you can tell, but see, it just looks so much better. So I remember just a little smidge shorter. Okay, now these ones are going to be 7 inches and just a smidge shorter than 3 1/4, of course, because these were 3 1/4, so just a smidge smaller. I'm going to cut those and glue those in, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got the inside of my box. It's still not quite dry, but it is decorated. It's covered. And I had to cut these to make sure they were directional also with the paper in the back. Now the next thing you have to do is you get these back out, and you have to decide if you want, which way you want your shelves. You want your shelves this way, you can do that. If you want your shelves this way, I don't think these ones will fit, but, well, we might be able to get them to fit. But we can always cut these. You can do that. So it's up to you how you decide you want them. I want this tall. That's why I did my direction going up this way. So now I have to cut my pieces. So I want this one. Now that was 7 inches, and the paper fell a little tiny bit short in the corners. If it was being held together, maybe a little better, it might be 7 inches, but it's not. So I'm going to go a little bit over 7. I don't have anything to mark it with. A little bit over 7. And a scoring tool, I guess. A little bit over 7. It's going to be, I'm going about 7 1/4. That's going to be right here. So, seven and a quarter. Now remember, it's better to start off too big than too small. So that's, kind of, see, it's too big. So now I'm just gonna, see, this side's pretty straight, so I'm gonna shave a little bit off of this side. Shave just a hair off. I told you this. I need a new blade. That's just not sharp enough anymore. Okay. Doesn't fit me, and it's still really tight, so I'm gonna try to take a little bit more off. You just want it to fit in there nice. A little snug, because honestly, I don't glue these in. I leave them just snug like this. You're not going to use these for anything really heavy. Now, if you feel like yours is sturdy enough for that, then that's alright, but I don't ever feel that way. That's still a little bit too much. It's pushing too much on that box. So I'm just going to cut just a tiny bit more. I know it's a lot of trimming, but this should do it this time. Yes. See, it's nice and it's snug. So now, what happened over here? See, this box was not straight at all. So now what I'm going to do is I need to cut this shelf to the right one for here, and I think that was 3 1/4, wasn't it? Yep. So 3 1/4, and I'm of course going to cut from the bad end, not meaning the end that's not straight. That's where I cut it, where I cut it. That's where I'm cutting it off at. That side. Use a metal blade to help me keep it straight. Let's see. Much nicer. Okay. And there we go. There's our first shelf. And we just need one more. So to make it easier, I'm just going to layer this on top of this. Usually any corner is the easiest, best way to do it. And I'm just going to use that as a and sometimes, you know, you're going to find that one shelf will fit in the bottom and not in the top because your box is too tweaked. Get rid of that box. Don't even try to straighten it out. It's not even worth trying to straighten it out. That's all I can tell you. It's just not even worth it. Where's the straight side of this one? Yep. If your box is too messed up, it's not even worth trying. Okay. See this blade? This blade is so dull now. Oh, shoot. I really cut into that bad. Maybe that's straighter, actually. Okay. That blade's so bad. Okay, so now I've got, that one needs to be trimmed a little bit more, I think. Yep, it's sticking out too much. This one is too. They need to both be trimmed just a tiny, tiny bit more. And don't worry about it coming all the way to the edge. If it's inside a little bit, that's okay. Better than it sticking out. That looks really bad sticking out. So okay. Boy, this blade. See, it should have cut right through that. Okay. So alright. Now, of course, I've got my shelves in here. Now I want to cover them with paper, and all I'm going to do is just take a piece that's going to fit. Make sure, you don't want to really have it going that way. You really want to have it going this way. I like to use, what did I do? Oh, there they are. I like to just cover it and the sides are not going to show. So if the paper is not covering the side of your shelf, it doesn't matter because that's the inside of the shelf. So see how bad that blade is? It's not even cutting paper. So I'm just going to glue this down. And glue this down. And normally I would let this dry, but for the sake of the video, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just cut it off right there. And I didn't cut that very straight, but there's one of our shelves. There's one of our shelves. So just let that dry. And I'm going to do the other one, and I will be right back. Okay, now you want to make sure your paper is good and stuck on these shelves. Mine really isn't, but I'm rushing this to get through this video for you. Now, you can, as you can see, I'm going to stick these in here. You can put these shelves wherever you want. If you just want one shelf, then you just do one shelf. You know, sometimes you can't do 3 shelves because you won't have the I like to put my shorter shelves on the bottom and my taller shelf on the top. I don't remember what I was saying. Now you can stick glue and glue it. And like I said, you're not really going to put anything heavy on here, but I'll tell you a secret in case you decide you need something a little sturdier. Let me stick glue, because these are mostly being held up just from the way they fit inside the box, right? If that makes sense. Oh, I got this backwards, don't I? There we go. So it's mostly from the fit inside the box and the way it fits, and I'm gonna squeeze it, okay, and make it hold better. It depends on how bad your box is, but this is basically your shelves. This is basically what you have. Now if you want it stronger, this is the little secret. I will cut these pieces. I will take them and I will stick them on the sides, okay? So I'm going to trim this a little bit. Now you do this usually, if you want to do this, you want to do it before you glue it down. But see, you can stick that in there. So you just take it, cover it. I don't remember which way it needed to go. This way? Nope, the other way. So it needs to go in here this way. Okay, so I'm going to cover it. I'm going to cover the side. Let me just show you. I'm going to put glue on the paper so you can. Of course, I would cut it to the size that it needs to be, but the sides are important more than the back, because the back is going to be just glued up against there. So, and the top and the bottom don't matter either. So you just take it and you can cut it away. And you can cut this way. I'm just cutting it away. Man, I hope I didn't do all of this out of frame. But then you can just fit it, slide it inside there. It'll fit in there. And see, that's a little tall because it's pushing my shelf up. It wouldn't matter if I didn't glue it already, but I have glue in there. Make sure you're putting it on the bottom, not on the top of the shelves. So it would need to be cut. I'm not even going to try to use this. I'm going to try to use the scissors. Now, see how it works. See, I went down too far this time. I think. There. So that now the shelf can lay on that. So I'm going to do another one exactly the same size for this side. And then I could do one for here and one for here. If you feel like you need it, that's what you can do. Nobody's ever noticed them in mine. And you can make them way short in the back. You know, whatever you want to do. Nobody's ever noticed them because you have stuff inside of them, so they don't notice them. And so now we've turned an ugly mailing box. Hopefully yours turned out better than mine because, of course, my box was in really rough shape, but I like the size of it. But you can turn a box into a little shelf. We can stick, I don't know, I didn't make it big enough for the drops, but we can stick our glitter in there. Glitter, glitter. We can put stamping pads in there. It just helps me in my bookcase fit smaller stuff stacked up, and it gives me more room. So I hope this video helped. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll know when I have a new video come up. Alright, thank you.